So I have to be honest. When I saw the video of them walking into Redskins Park, I got really excited because I think the closer we get to any sense of normalcy, the better it is for the fans moving towards the start of the 2020 season.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that, Maurice. And hopefully that does gear up a little bit more going into the season. Now, let me go to you, Hall. Did you see the latest pictures from Dwayne Haskins working out? Dude, I knew that he lost a lot of weight, but my goodness, he looks skinny.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a whole new person, to be honest. It's kind of crazy. As far as, like, the whole football thing, I mean, still has to translate onto the field as far as, like, knowing the playbook, progressing through your reads, being a leader and stuff like that.
But still, he's out there working.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to say. Like, just for him, the fact that he's putting the work in when he doesn't technically have to be, like, obviously that's his job. But, like, a lot of people are just like, oh, it's the off season. I'm just going to wait till, like, things get picked back up, and then I'll start, like, ramping it up and everything like that. So, just for the simple fact that he's taking everything serious now, I think he's gotten the whole thing of, I need to be the first guy in, last guy out. I need to be the team leader type of thing. So just him taking the initiative to get his body. I mean, I didn't have a problem with his body shape before, but just for him to get leaner and stuff like that. I mean, good for him.
Yeah, and speaking of body shape, Mike Reed, were you able to look at that picture from Dwayne Haskins?
Dwayne Haskins looks good. He's got that revenge body going on. But like I said, him and his girl broke up. He's out on the prowl. No, but it's a good sign. It's really going to help him. One thing that Dwayne Haskins really surprised with last year was his ability to maneuver in the pocket and his ability to run, which is something that he wasn't known for at Ohio State.
Right.
So him losing weight, I wonder how it's going to affect his ability to break tackles, but I do like the fact that it should, of course, in theory, make him faster, a little bit more agile, be able to get out of the pocket. And he looks like he's in the best shape of his life. He's lost a lot of baby fat. I saw the video the other day of him throwing a dime to Steven Sims, which you love to see. He's been putting in work, man. I've been very impressed with him. This is what we all wanted. This is what we've all been asking for from him this offseason, to kind of show that he's a leader and to take that next step. And I think that's what he's doing, despite this virus. He's putting in work with his guys, and that's all you can ask for. Now, like Hall said, we'll just have to see if it translates on the field.
Now, speaking of working out with his guys, I have to go to you, Maurice, to get your initial reaction to this. A video came out yesterday of AGG, Antonio Gandy-Golden, the rookie wide receiver that the Redskins have just drafted. He was working out with Anquan Boldin, who I think we can all say is probably one of the best wide receivers that the NFL has ever seen. What is your initial reaction from that? What do you think he learned from Anquan Boldin?
I think the three things that he learns from Anquan Boldin is toughness, because when you think about Anquan Boldin, he would manhandle opposing defensive team cornerbacks and secondary. So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is route running. I think that he's going to be a really good route runner. And I also just think leadership on the field. I remember when Pierre Garçon was with the Redskins, he reminded me of Anquan Boldin, having that toughness and that leadership and really good route running. So I think that if he's learning those three skills this early on with a pros pro like Anquan Boldin, that bodes very well for the Redskins passing attack in 2020.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that, because Anquan Boldin, his kind of mindset is what the Redskins have kind of needed on a whole general scale of things. But the fact is, if they had that at the wide receiver position, they just got even more deadly with who they already have in the building. Now, Hall, I know that you're a wide receiver mark, and you know how pivotal the information is that Anquan Boldin possesses. What do you take away from his workout with AGG?
Well, the biggest thing was you saw a lot of him working on his comeback routes and his hitch routes and stuff like that. So for him to be working on his route running, as far as I know, that was one of his knocks coming out of college, was he wasn't a very crisp route runner as far as coming in and out of his breaks. So for someone like Anquan Boldin, like Maurice said, is a pro's pro, did it for many, many, many years in the league, Super Bowl champion, maybe even potential Hall of Famer at some point down the line.
Yeah,
definitely bodes well for him. And it's like Santana Moss said, they didn't really go after any big name wide receivers outside of Amari Cooper. So it makes him think that they have something brewing inside of Redskins Park that we don't know about. And someone that's around the team like that, like Moss, I think that he's on to something there.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that, because I think the Redskins are brewing something there in D.C., and you're right. They didn't go after a lot of wide receivers. Look, they went and gotten Cody Latimer, but that was just a depth piece. Nobody, the only people that were legitimate and logical weren't putting Cody Latimer as a starter. You know what I mean? So, like, the only people that were kind of insane. So he was kind of more of a depth piece. So, like, they went towards the draft, and they got their guy. Now, I think that he is I guess I'll say he's he's better, he's speedier, and he's quicker and a better route runner than what was his name? I just had it and it popped out of my head. The Panthers wide receiver, Kelvin Benjamin. That's how it kind of reminds me of that kind of big body, big wide receiver downfield that can go get some tall balls. And I think that he can do that, but I think he's just a little bit more athletic than that. And so he fits the bill. I think you're absolutely right about that. So Reed, what was your takeaway? What do you think of Anquan Boldin's workout with AGG?
I loved it. I mean, they trained together before the draft to get AGG ready for the draft. And like you all said, Anquan Boldin just brings this rare toughness, this elite toughness to the wide receiver position. I mean, we all remember when he broke his face. Well, what part of it was his face? It was right down his sinus. He broke his sinus or something with the helmet. The helmet hit, still held onto the ball. Just always been tough. He was good right out of the gate, setting records as a rookie. He could teach AGG what to expect. AGG's got a little bit more size than him, and I think that bodes well for him with Dwayne Haskins, who tends, when he misses, he does tend to miss high. So AGG with those long arms, that tremendous sleeping ability, and just that 6'4" frame, it will really benefit from this. It's never a negative when you're working out with somebody like Anquan Boldin. It's just the definition of a pro's pro. So hopefully he can take some of the things that he's learned and come out of the gates kind of swinging, just like Anquan Boldin did when he first entered the league out of Florida State.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, Anquan Boldin was never that kind of player that, like, blew you away with speed. You know, he wasn't that kind of just, like, athletic freak. He was just, like everyone collectively has said, he was just a very tough guy, and he just went and made plays. And if AGG possesses that, I mean, look at that ability on top of his size and his speed. He's going to be indefensible. So I love him going to Anquan Boldin to get that, because Anquan Boldin had to work hard for the yards that he had to get. And if AGG possesses that kind of motivation, then I think sky's the limit for this Redskins offense, because I know we're all sitting here thinking it's going to be a run team, but, man, they might be able to light up some people this year.
Right, and let's not forget, if this was any other year, Antonio Gandy-Golden would have been picked a lot higher than the 4th round. It's just this year was so deep with receivers that it kind of pushed him back. But he would have been, in the years prior, he would have been picked a lot higher. Not a first rounder, maybe not even a second, but he would have been picked higher than the 4th.
Right. Now, so it just got announced about an hour ago that the Redskins were going to be able to hear from a couple of the Redskins staff and of the Redskins players. The first person we're going to hear from is Ron Rivera, actually, tomorrow at 10 a.m., and then it's McLaurin at 1:20. At Haskins at 3:30. Then on Thursday, it's McLaurin at 1:20, and then Kerrigan at 1:45. So I want to go around the squares here. I want to go to Maurice first. If you were to, what would be your question to Ron Rivera? If the Redskins came to you and they granted you a 1-day pass, and you're able to ask one question to Ron Rivera, he calls you up and says, "All right, Maurice Hawkins, you're up." What are you asking Ron?
I'm asking Ron, what is his vision for the team? How is he going to draw a difference from what we've seen last year? Like, what is going to be the hallmarks of the Ron Rivera culture with the Washington Redskins? I think we've seen in years past that we really haven't had a culture. We really haven't had an identity. Some teams are going to be more about precision, like your LA Rams teams. Some teams are going to be like about toughness, where you get a lot of your AFC North teams. Like, what is kind of going to be that defining quality that makes the Washington Redskins the Redskins under his regime?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I think that's the one thing that we are looking for as a fan base, is kind of a viewing into what's going on at Redskins Park and how they're really trying to get this culture changed, because I think we would all love to be able to see how it's going to be able to change and the kind of maturation process that's going to come with it. Now, let me go to you, Hall. If you were to ask Ron Rivera a question tomorrow, what would it be?
Kind of along the lines of Maurice. He kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Everyone's always hearing the famous quote that he first came in about, this is the team has great history. We got to study that history, repeat that history. So my question would be, what are these steps you're going to take to kind of repeat that history? And now that you guys are in the building, the coaches and the coaching staff, what is going to be that, like Maurice said, kind of that staple that you can get your hands on the guys and what's going to be the culture and kind of the identity of the team now that everyone's in kind of groups and spurts entering the facilities.
Yeah, and because look, I think it's going to be really weird all of itself because of quarantine. Ron coming to a new place and having to start up as a coach. Obviously, it's just really weird circumstance all around for Ron Rivera. Now, so let me go to you, Reed. If you, what would you ask Ron?
I would ask him how he's going to be dealing with the pandemic going on with them coming back. You know, it's going to be very weird, like in years past. I mean, when you have 90 men during training camp and that locker room is packed, I mean, everybody's so squished together. They don't have separation from each other. So they're going to have to figure out a way to give everybody that 6 feet and give everybody be able to fit everybody. Maybe that's part of the reason why they didn't sign so many undrafted rookie free agents. You know, who knows what they're thinking, but I'm excited to see what direction they're going to be going. I know that the Redskins have kind of been one of the leaders, surprisingly, when this pandemic started, and the things that they've done and being inventive and taking initiative. And I'm excited to see what it is, what kind of stuff they come up with, and what Ron Rivera brings to the table. I'm excited to see how hard he works these guys.
Yeah, and look, if I were to ask him one question, the one thing I would ask him is, when you start winning Madden, when you start a franchise for that season, they always ask you, as the coach, what is your set goal for the year? Do you expect to win 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, or, make the playoffs or make it to the Super Bowl? My question to Ron Rivera is, if you were to do that, what would be your goal for the Redskins this season? I want to be able to gauge how good he thinks his football team is, how far he thinks they can really go, because I think there's a lot of juice in that fruit, in what is available on the Redskins roster right now. And I think that getting a Redskins fan base a little fired up with some Ron Rivera talk about how good the Redskins are would be the perfect question to ask him, in my opinion.
Yeah, him already coming out and saying after the draft that this might be a faster turnaround than even he originally thought already got people fired up. I mean, that was a perfect thing for him to say, because that really got everybody going. I mean, I think even he was shocked when he kind of realized the amount of untapped potential and talent that's actually on this roster when you really look at it.
I agree. I mean, for all the odds makers to come out and say we're only going to have 4 wins so far going into this season, it's kind of like, come on, really? It's kind of like last year was an anomaly, and with the defense already coming in and being like everyone already knows, defenses are ahead of offenses going into the season off bricks, and the strength of our team being the defense, I think it's going to bode well for us at least 7 to 8 wins this season. So like Reed said, just can't wait to see the goals that he sets for the team and how fast he can turn it around.
Yeah, so let me ask you, Maurice. Out of all of these interviews, which one do you think is the most important that you'd want to hear from if you could only choose one? Which one, besides Ron? I think we'd all want to hear from Ron. But given that it's McLaurin, Haskins, or Kerrigan, if you could only choose one of those interviews that you had to listen to, which one would it be, Maurice?
I think Kerrigan for me, because there's been so much attention on our youth movement, whether it's Dwayne Haskins going into the second year or Chase Young, or the other rookies. You had Terry McLaurin, who had a really outstanding year, and some other young receivers. So I really want to get the perspective of Brian Kerrigan, who's really like the elder statesman of the team. I mean, he's pound for pound, one of the top leaders on the team. He's been on the team the longest. He's one of the most accomplished players on the Redskins that's been with the team originally. Like, the most accomplished player on the Redskins is Adrian Peterson, bar none, end of story. But the most accomplished Redskins player that's been with the team since day one is Brian Kerrigan. So I think the tone and tenor that he's going to set, and we know that he's going to have a diminished role going into 2020 because there's just too much talent on that defensive line for him to occupy the same level of time in the lineup that he's had in the past. But I really want to hear what his thoughts are going into this season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, because Ryan Kerrigan has been through many regime changes here. He's been through it. He's been through the muck, and kind of seeing this kind of resurgence again and the energy around the fan base, I would love to be able to gauge how he views everything going on and how he kind of sees the situation. So let me go to you, Reed. Which interview excites you the most? If you had to pick between the 3, which one would you choose?
I'm interested to see Dwayne Haskins and his point of view, see how he's coming along with the offense. We've heard that he's done very well during the virtual meetings from Scott Turner. And I'm just really excited to see how far he's come along. And I just want to hear from his point of view from working with the receivers, what he sees, and just how effective he thinks this offense can be, how much he likes having the two new Antonios, and if he's what he's grasping. You know, I haven't heard much from Haskins. I've seen him post a lot on social media, but I haven't been hearing much from him, and I'm excited to hear from him right now.
Well, you definitely did hear from him from over the weekend because he was at the Black Lives Matter protest down to D.C.
But I'm talking about via interview.
I know, man. I know. You know what I'm talking about.
Just clearing that up. I'm just clearing that up in case anybody. I'm just kidding.
Lots of credit to Dwayne for doing that. By the way, that was awesome of him. But let me go. So let me go to you, Hall. Do you agree with Maurice or Reed? Do you go with Kerrigan or Haskins here? Which one would you be excited for?
Yeah, definitely excited for Haskins, just like Reed is. I want to hear, like he said, how he's grasping the offense, what he likes about the offense so far, how he's doing in the Zoom meetings. I want to know what his goals are for this upcoming season as well.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I want to, and like everyone sees him posting all the workout videos, and he's getting more in shape, if you want to call it that, and getting leaner. So I want to see if, I guess you could say, if his mind is getting leaner, you know, as far as him maturing and stuff like that. So
leaner just sounds fun.
Trimming the fat.
I know, trimming the fat off his brain to be more mature.
It's not Hannibal Lecter. Come on.
But now, yeah, definitely Haskins. I mean, everyone loves Terry McLaurin, but you're just gonna get that pros interview, nothing but just positive, straight talk from him. Never gonna get a soundbite that's gonna be used in the media. So yeah, definitely just Haskins, because of I want to see what his goals are for himself this upcoming season and how he likes the offense so far.
Yeah,
I would also like to ask him if he would maybe want to hang out sometime. Maybe if he wants to go catch a flick. Maybe if he wants to throw me the football. Maybe if he wants to be considered friends. Yeah, I'll bowl with him. Maybe he wants to be in my top 8 on MySpace. I would allow it. And then he can put me in his.
Yeah, look, I'd have to go with Terry McLaurin. I want to hear from Terry because Terry was here last year, and he was one of the only pieces that was a self-sustainable and actually was a bright light on a very dark time. And he's transitioning through a very, very crazy situation that the Redskins fans have really not really been in before because Dan doesn't really like to fire guys mid-season. So this was kind of a whole weird situation. And then on top of that, of course, Dwayne Haskins has been working out with Terry every day. I want to hear from Terry how Dwayne is doing, what he sees from Dwayne, and what he sees in Dwayne and how much he's progressed since just working out with him, not obviously in just a physical, just looking at him nature, but just in his game, what he's been working on in the film room and getting better with and everything. Because I obviously would just love Terry McLaurin, and listening to him talk, I think, would be the best thing because he is the mouthpiece for this team.
Right. And also just going off of what Maurice said, I'm super excited to hear from Kerrigan too, just how he's accepting his role, getting a reduced amount of snaps like we would all imagine with all the talent that we have on that defensive line, and how he feels about moving back to defensive end full time. And like Maurice said, his position as locker room leader, because now that Trent is completely out of the picture, it's all down to Kerrigan like it was, I guess, last year too. But I'm very excited to see what he has to say and to see how he feels about people like Chase and Montez Sweat and where he sees what week he sees him breaking the Redskins sack record.
All right, so that was great. I appreciate that, you guys. Now, so Burrows had a question for us. He hit me up on Twitter earlier. So I'm gonna try to do his voice. Should I try to do his accent?
Oi!
How can the Redskins get more fans in the building?
What we've got to do is we've got to have the Beatles start playing.
No, but in all seriousness, a big shout out to Burrows and the Redskins tweet team. They just started a podcast. I've been going back and forth. It was great. He actually did a great job. He just interviewed 2 great Redskins fans that sounded like they very confident. They didn't miss a beat. It was just a really good episode. It's a really and they're doing really well. So go make sure you go check that out. But in all seriousness, he wants to know, how can the Redskins get more fans in the building? So, Maurice, I'll go to you. Oh, sorry. Reed wants his first.
No. Let Maurice go for it. Maurice.
Okay, so, Maurice, what do you think? How can the Redskins get more fans in the stadium?
But before I answer that question, I want to say, like, the 2 young ladies that are on the podcast, Those are like some of our Rockstar Redskins tweet team members, JD and Crystal. So
they are awesome.
I mean, they had some great stories on that recording.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as answering your question, I think it's real simple. Win.
Yeah.
I think it's real simple. I think it's win some games, play with some passion and some intensity. I said on the recording on the Redskins Tweet Team podcast with Burrows that I think that the Redskins are good to win some games just off of coaching alone. You know, and I think that Rivera can will this team to win some games. But I think that I think the Eagles game week 1 is so important because if we can win that game, and that sets a tone early, even if you lose week 2, I think if you win week 1, you know, you come out the gates, you know, with positive energy and positive momentum. So I think they just gotta win. I mean, and the fans will come back, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that because that would be one heck of a statement if the Redskins came out week 1 and punched the Eagles in the mouth. And actually, like last year, week 1, where they get a big lead, but they don't let them back in the game. And maybe that's what the Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio are going to bring. So let me go to you, Hall. Let me ask you the same question. What do you think?
Just the same as Maurice thinks, win, first of all. And second of all, like he said, just show that consistency through all 4 quarters of playing hard through the whole 60 minutes of the game. And just the whole, I guess a whole different demeanor on the sideline, which comes with the whole culture change that Ron Rivera is bringing in there. But definitely, like Maurice said, just consistency and hard working effort on the field. And if you put that in, at the end of the day, wins will come.
Now, I will say though, I had to put I will say if they pull what the Atlanta Falcons did, if they pull a whole bit where they're charging $3 for a beer and $3 for a hot dog and $2 for a slice of pizza, I think people are going to show up again.
Oh, yeah.
But look, I'm thinking short term. I know the long term, that's the only way that things are going to shape out. But let me go to Reed. Reed, do you have anything?
No, I was about to say, like you guys said, obviously long term for sure, win, put a product on the field that makes fans want to be there. I personally have a lot of bad memories watching Redskins games at FedEx Field. So you got to win me back. You know, it's not that easy to just get this guy back. You got to win me back. Put something out there to entice me. I'm a roast. Baste me. I want to see the steak. I'm a lion. I'm hungry. I want to be there. But also, like you said, Kyle, I hate thinking about going to a game to watch a team lose and spending a whole lot of money. You know, I mean, in this economy especially, I lower these prices for some of this stuff. Please. I promise you I will end up going and watching losing football if I only have to spend $10 to get drunk about it.
Right, exactly. But look, you know, it's a kind of a rough question because there really is no other way about it. We all know that winning is the only formula. But look, I've said it many times. I do think that there is a rift between the Redskins brass and the fan base, and it's not it's not Ron Rivera and under. It's only over. And I think that there's only one way that the only one way that gets over. And that's with a public statement, some sort of a hand gesture, some sort of offering. You know what I'm saying? And I know that that's probably never going to happen, knowing all the things that have been said about Snyder and Co. up there. But I think lowering the prices or a public statement like that would say a lot about the area. But I think the Mikes know, Maurice, we're 30 around that area. All the kids our age, not really Redskins fans. We're dime a dozen because of the non-winning throughout growing up, and it's hard to come by. And so now it's almost like public shaming when you go to a Skins game.
I think it's that, and I also think when you have a team like the Baltimore Ravens that's like 35, 40 minutes north of the Redskins that are year in and year out a contender. Last year they were the 1 seed in the AFC. They had one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, with Lamar Jackson, so all those things come into play, it's really easy for fans to measure, the Redskins against Baltimore. So it's not like they're measuring against, other teams across the country. Like you have Baltimore literally right up the street. So if I'm a fan, I have proximity to the team, they're winning. Why wouldn't I support that team? But I think in addendum to that, I think another way you get Redskins fans behind the team is how we play our games. I'll give you an example. If the Redskins are like on a 3rd and 3, and we pass the ball like before the first down marker and we don't get it, that's not an aggressive play. I think when we're in like a 3rd and short situation, be aggressive, get the first down. Even like say if you're driving the ball, you're moving the ball, and say you're like outside of the field goal range, but you're in scoring position, like a 4th and 1. Get physical. I mean, I just remember with Joe Gibbs back in the day, he'd go to heavy jumbo, right. Put 2 tight ends, a fullback. We'd get that yard and extend the drive. And I think a lot of Redskins fans would react to that. I've always said the Redskins fans never really are all in love about offense and seeing the ball in the sky. Right. We care about wins and losses. Yep. Redskins fans, if we win ugly for 16 games, then we're the ugliest winning team in the NFL. So it's all about winning.
And that's another good thing about Ron Rivera is Ron Rivera is known for taking chances. He's known for gambling like that. That's why he's called Riverboat Ron. So hopefully he can bring some of that back. I think that's 100% true. That'll make it more exciting for the fans.
Yeah, and just go back to 2018 when we were 6-4, first place in the division, a game and a half up. A lot of those games were really, really hella ugly.
Yeah.
But we came out with the win, and guess what?
Still pulling it out.
The fan base was getting riled up. And obviously the whole Alex Smith thing happened, and the whole morale just crashed back down. But I think they can get back there, if not even more, with, like everyone said, Riverboat Ron and how they play the games and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it speaks right to that, Maurice, is that I think that's what Ron Rivera is going to bring, that kind of Joe Gibbs simple kind of mindset with the jumbo package. That's why they brought in so many tight ends, because they're going to overstack that position at all times with a little dink and dunk of Terry McLaurin and AGG with Steven Sims and Kelvin Harmon. I think that's going to happen a lot, and I think you're absolutely right. They need to bring back that mindset of, I don't care who's in front of me. I'm moving you out of the way. Right. And if we need to get the yard, we're going to get the yard one way or another. It's either through the ground or through the air. And that kind of mindset is what has been missing here with the Washington Redskins as of late for last, I would say since Shanny, because Shanny kind of had that kind of personality. But it's been a long time. The Redskins could really benefit from it. You're absolutely right. All right, so the next thing I heard, I'm not sure if you guys heard this come across the grapevine today regarding the NFL, but Dalvin Cook wants a new deal. He's not even going to practice until he gets a new deal. So, Reed, do you think this is legit? Do they have a Trent Williams situation on their hands?
I mean, from what he says, everything he's saying, I don't think that – I do think that he will not do anything until he gets paid, and that's where it gets tricky because with running backs as good as Dalvin Cook was last year, he does have an injury history. And it's how long do running backs stay healthy? How long can running backs really play these days? I mean, is it really worth putting that much money into a running back? Especially, I mean, Kirk's contract's up after this year. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Good for Dalvin, hold out, get that money. But I don't know if it's going to end up working out in his favor.
Yeah, I saw this funny tweet today that said, we're all freaking out about these looters in Minneapolis, and Kirk Cousins robbed the Vikings years ago.
I saw one that said Kirk was the only person in Minnesota to not hit the target.
Oh, that's messed up.
I love Kirk. People hate on him so hard.
Oh, poor guy. Just kidding. Nobody cares. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, credit to Dalvin Cook. But the crappy thing is, we talked about this with the Le'Veon Bell situation. We talked about it last year with the Melvin Gordon situation. It sucks because it's now turning into the running back by committee, because it's almost like offenses and teams are kind of looking at the running back position as, you're going to be injured anyway, so there's no reason for me to give you any money. We'll just push a whole bunch of people into that position, and then we're just going to roll with it. Running back is not a coveted piece anymore, and it's unfortunate because they get probably the worst of the blunt of all the force from everything. So let me ask you, Hall, like, do you think Cook is going to win this battle? Do you think he's going to get a contract?
And a very short answer, no. He pretty much has no leverage going into the situation because he's still on his rookie deal. I know that he probably deserves to get paid a pretty nice chunk of change. I wouldn't say Chris McCaffrey deal or even a Zeke deal, but probably right underneath there. The problem is that out of 48 regular season games, he's missed 19, which is pretty much 40% of the time he's not on the field due to injury. So that's going to go against his argument. Like I said, on the field play, definitely he deserves it. He's the leader of that offense as far as playmaker ability.
Yeah, he is.
And without him, Kirk Cousins is kind of just an average or below average quarterback in my opinion, because Kirk's kind of needs that run game and the play action game to be working perfectly for him to be efficient, especially without Stephon Diggs, even though they got Justin Jefferson in there through the draft. But I just think that he's not going to win. He's not going to win this argument. He has no leverage, and I think the Vikings are going to tell him, if you can stay healthy, kind of like a prove-it deal, even though he's on his rookie contract still. If you stay healthy all 16 games this year, we'll reward you next year. But yeah, I don't even see him doing that. So I don't think he's going to get that deal that he wants.
Look, and if the Vikings are smart, they'll learn from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if this thing starts heading downhill, where in regards that they're not going to offer him a contract, he's not going to want to deal with them at all, I think they should go ahead and start shopping him and getting anything that they can, because we saw from the Steelers' point of view where they completely lost out on Le'Veon Bell. He didn't get a dime or anything in return from him. So you think about the Vikings, that this could be going down that kind of path in regards to his contract. Do you agree with that, Maurice?
I don't see where he has the leverage. I mean, that's just really the challenge. And I think that I think the Vikings have no problem going running back by committee this year. So I'm trying to figure out where his leverage is. And I think, like Hall said, he's trying to get the big contract because he knows himself that he's not that healthy. So he said, let me cash my chips now because I may not be in the league
while my stock is high.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And they also had a pretty good backup with Alexander Madison.
I was going to say Madison, when healthy, he was pretty good last year. So
yeah.
And you're not wrong about that, because look, the Vikings, if anyone is used to it, I think it's the Vikings. I know they had AP for a long time, but they don't mind being able to let go of guys and recharge at the position. They don't mind that at all. And so I wanted to talk about that because it just kind of seemed weird with the timing of everything. As soon as they get back to the facility, Dalvin Cook's asking for a new deal. Looked like kind of weird to my point. But one thing I wanted to talk about tonight in regarding of fantasy, and I wanted to go. I know, Maurice, I'm not sure if you fancy yourself a fantasy guy.
Not sure if you
I do. I'm in at least 2 leagues a year. So.
All right, great. So I'm glad to hear that. So I wanted to go to Reed. Let me go to Hall first. David Johnson, I saw, was not getting mocked. I did a mock draft the other day. Don't judge me. I'm not early. I don't care. As soon as I heard they were going back to the facility, I started doing the mocks. And I saw that, dude, they have David Johnson projected in the 6th to 7th round, Hall. What the hell?
Just because there's a limited amount of running backs, he'll go before then. But, I mean, he's definitely not like a first-round running back anymore. He's definitely not a second-round running back anymore. He's definitely between 3rd and 4th round kind of guy. And if he can stay healthy, he'll be a 3rd or 4th round kind of guy. But I just think that without DeAndre Hopkins in that offense, it's kind of like the wide receivers. There's no one on the outside to kind of loosen the box for David Johnson. I know he can catch the ball at the backfield, but, again, we haven't seen a real David Johnson since, 3 years ago?
Yeah, don't forget about Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's a dude that can't help himself. So
yeah,
and Will Fuller, they got a bunch of injured people on the team at the receiver position. So, Yeah, I just think that he's definitely a 3rd or 4th round guy, but I could definitely see him being a 5th to 6th round guy just based off the projections. So
I completely disagree. Yeah. This is Deshaun Watson's running back, and it's David Johnson, who had. Look, I understand he had a wrist injury. I get it. But
dude, I had David Johnson last year. He was a bum.
I know. But look, that's Cliff Kingsbury. Because Cliff Kingsbury. Look, I understand. But Cliff Kingsbury does not like the big boxy kind of running back. He likes his shifty guys that he could throw to out of the backfield, the empty set kind of wideouts. Where Bill O'Brien, he wants to be able just to stuff the ball down the throat and try to get the ball away from Deshaun Watson as much as possible. And I just think Bill O'Brien is like a lumberjack kind of guy, where he's like, we just got David Johnson, just get him the ball. And so what's literally going to happen is they're going to throw the ball a lot over the air, but it's going to be David Johnson heavy from like 3 years ago, where it's run the ball, give him a bunch out of the backfield, rotate him out of wide receiver, and let him do his thing. What do you think about that, Mike Reed?
I agree with Hall. I understand what the Texans are trying to do. They're trying to build up speed on the outside with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson, of course, at quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback. Yeah. And they're trying to spread the field out, and that way they can get the ball to David Johnson. But I think he'll end up going in the third or fourth range or so. I don't think that we're going to see the David Johnson that we have seen in years or a few years ago when he had that explosive year, finished as a top 3 back. I think that those days, unfortunately, are just gone. This is just an injury-prone offense for everybody not named Deshaun Watson.
Right. No, I'm not saying he's going to be a first-rounder.
No, I see what you're saying, Kyle. I do think that the plan right now is to try to give them a pretty heavy dose of Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry, of David Johnson, which should help Deshaun Watson and help ease the loss of DeAndre Hopkins. But I also think that Bill O'Brien maybe has one too many chromosomes, and I don't think that he necessarily knows what he's doing. And I think that instead of giving the ball, I think it's going to be more of like let's give him the ball. Because Bill O'Brien has completely screwed up that team.
Can I chime in on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to go to you next anyway, Maurice.
Because we were talking about looting earlier. So can we talk about how the Arizona Cardinals absolutely looted Houston, Texas
100%.
by getting DeAndre Hopkins with David Johnson? Oh, nobody's planet is that a fair trade at all.
No.
And then literally a few weeks later, Stephon Diggs goes for a first rounder. He's nowhere near DeAndre Hopkins.
Exactly. It's almost like the Arizona Cardinals took Houston, Texas milk money with that trade.
Yeah, they bullied them.
It's just straight Debo, like give me your bite.
Yeah.
It's almost like at the owners meeting or at the combine or something, Bill O'Brien got really drunk with some people and was just like, dude, I love David Johnson.
Right.
Love him so much. What, dude? People offer
you want fucking DeAndre Hopkins? Take him.
I'm sure people are offering you first-round picks for him.
It was almost as if, he said, Magic 8 Ball, should I trade DeAndre Hopkins? Yes. You're gone. That's like how he made the decision.
It's like mirror on the wall, but it's like a homeless guy down in Houston.
But then you think about it, the year before, like they had just traded so many picks for Laramie Tunsil. And they could have reacquired some picks for DeAndre Hopkins. Right. Bill O'Brien decided that he wants to get fired and destroy them from the inside. And it's just sad. It's sad.
I'm telling you, Eric Bieniemy, 2021, Eric Bieniemy and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that'll be a great duo.
Bieniemy's got to get he's got to be like number one on the radar screen.
100%.
Head coaching job.
100%.
Yeah, me and Hall and Reed, we've talked about ad nauseam how much we love Eric Bieniemy. I remember watching Hey Rookie, Welcome to the NFL, and Adrian Peterson back in I think 2006, I think it was when he was drafted. And Eric Bieniemy was his running back coach with the Minnesota Vikings. And I remember listening to him talk to AP, and I was like, dude, like that's a grown man talking to another grown man. Like this is the content I'm here for. Like I want to learn from this guy. And I've always kept that with me. And it's just so funny that he's with the Kansas City Chiefs now and he's ready to be a head coach. Cause I'm telling you, I know that there were some like weird personal things that the NFL was going on with some sort of thing with him, but I hope he gets his opportunity ASAP because he deserves it.
Yeah.
There is no reason that he should not have been a head coach this offseason. You look at people like Joe Judge that got hired over him. Give me a break.
Right.
Yeah,
wasn't he like the special teams coordinator for the Patriots?
No one's literally ever heard of that dude ever in their life.
Right.
Unless he lives in New England.
Bieniemy was the top of like every single list of coordinators who are going to be head coaches, and you go and pick Joe Judge. I don't know. Maybe we'll look back at this in 4 years and we'll all laugh at me for saying that. Maybe Joe Judge would be great. I don't know, but I know he won't. So,
well, that's also the same franchise that hired Dave Gettleman, by the way. So
that's true.
This shouldn't be so surprising because obviously their eye for talent is not that good. There was somebody else pulling the strings there that knew what they were doing and they were gone. But Hall, you had a comment about this and you got stopped short. What were you going to say?
I don't know how many.
Oh no, sorry. You were about to say something. My fault. My fault. No, but in all seriousness, I think it's kind of insane how far David Johnson has fallen. All because of Cliff Kingsbury, to be perfectly honest with you. The dude was a workhorse, and it's not like he's going through the normal roundabouts of going like torn ACL, and going through all of this other injury nonsense. So like, let's say, oh my goodness, he destroyed Todd Gurley. Did
Todd Gurley, yeah.
Like it's nothing like that, and he still fell. So I feel like if anyone is going to have a bounce back year this year, it could be David Johnson. Just because of, I think Bill O'Brien, that's the only thing Bill O'Brien is trying to do. He's trying to make him Saquon Barkley, essentially.
I mean, yeah, I could definitely see that because they kind of have the same body build as far as like, not really like Saquon's legs, but just they got the same ability as far as like they can run, catch the ball in the backfield. So I can definitely see agility. I can see where he's going with that whole thing, but it's just like they let go of DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson.
Right.
Either way you look at it, dude, just a bad decision, just all the way around.
Yeah.
But speaking of Todd Gurley, what does everyone think Todd Gurley's going to do?
Oh, that's going to be so interesting to see. If this would have happened 3-4 years ago, oh my God, could you imagine that offense?
Oh, they probably would have been Super Bowl. They wouldn't have lost that 20.
Right. But I'm so interested in how his knee is doing, because when Todd Gurley is healthy, he's amazing. But then with that degenerative knee issue, it's so tough to tell, because he's a running back, and I mean he's going to get hit low. He would get the bulk of the carries, but if he can stay healthy, he would be such a good fit for that offense. But I don't see if it can happen at this point in his career.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Maurice?
I mean, I think that the jury's out on Todd Gurley if he can get any semblance of what he was when he was with the Rams and everything. But again, I think, being in that Atlanta offense, with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, that's a lethal combination right there. So that you're not going to be able to drop a man in the box because you got to contain Julio.
Yeah.
So he could have a renaissance career in Atlanta, but I think it's all about him staying healthy. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you have to think about it. The way that they use Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman there in Atlanta, I think Todd Gurley actually fits that bill really well. And I think that he's going to slide into that offense, and he's actually going to produce really well in PPR formats, a lot like I think David Johnson's going to be used in Houston. So look, I love Julio, but Julio is getting up there. I don't think he's going to be as dominant as he usually is, and with the addition of Calvin Ridley on the other side. But the one signing that I think, or not the one signing, the one trade that's going under the radar for the Falcons, I think is Hayden Hurst. I think for fantasy speaking, because, look at Austin Hooper. This dude was not an athletic freak. He wasn't a juggernaut. He wasn't out there dominating guys. And he was doing really well in fantasy, and that's because Matt Ryan's cushion, his little blanket, is a perfect PPR format kind of tight end. I want to go to you, Hall. What do you think the ceiling is for Hayden Hurst there for fantasy?
I actually forgot they even picked Hayden Hurst up, so that's a great option that Matt Ryan
because remember we wanted the Redskins to trade for Hayden Hurst. Yeah, remember?
Yeah, but I think that Hayden Hurst can definitely move into the top 10 as far as tight ends go for fantasy this year.
He's super talented.
Yeah, he's definitely super talented. I know the Ravens kind of like were stacked and loaded the tight end, so he kind of fell into the win, and I think he had injuries as well. But if he can stay healthy, he can definitely be, I think, Austin Hooper 2.0, because he's more athletic than Austin Hooper. He's faster.
Better blocker.
Better blocker than Austin Hooper. So, if they can utilize him, he can definitely creep into the top 10, maybe even top 5 with that lethal passing offense they're going to have.
Yeah, the question is, does it keep the hair indoors?
That's true. Good point. I'm interested. I'm real interested to see how they use Hayden Hurst. I mean, of course, you can't fault him. Everybody wants to say, well, he got outperformed by a mid-round pick and Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews is all of a sudden he's for sure a top 10 NFL tight end, about top 5.
That's my keeper this year, baby.
Right. So I mean, he's a very good tight end.
13th
I think
round.
Hurst, there's a reason that he was such a high pick. He has the talent, he has the ability. He needs a chance, and he can get it with Atlanta. I will say one thing real quick, bringing it back to Gurley. What if Gurley has a career renaissance like the last running back to go from the Rams to the Falcons, Steven Jackson?
Yeah.
Steven Jackson did decent with the Falcons for a couple years.
That is true. Those first couple years.
I think some of the challenge with these players get these knee injuries, right? There's such a rush to get them back on the field.
Right.
And yes, they're healthy, but are they healthy, right?
Right. They're not in football shape.
Right. They're not in football.
RG3.
Yeah, they're not in football shape. And also, it takes a little bit of time getting some hits to get that confidence back. So I think if the Falcons can gradually bring Gurley in there and he can get his rhythm about him, he can be like a nice weapon for them. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, when I did the mock draft, one of the things that we briefly talked about it before, Maurice, but you're a fantasy head, so I got to get your 2 cents on this, was the top 10 picks. And I think this is very important because there is so many possible guys that you could take at number one that there's a very viable case. So let me ask you, Maurice, if you had the number one overall pick, who are you going with right now?
I mean, I'm just going to go safe and just go Saquon. I mean, first of all, not only is he one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, bar none, like what else do the Giants have, right? I mean, offensively. So he's going to get touches, right? He's going to perform. And I think going into year 3, I think he's going to be even more of a dominant player. So I think you got to go with Saquon with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and look, the Redskins are going to have their hands full, but I think they're going to answer that call well. They have shown even before that they can stifle Saquon and Zeke, and they're not afraid of these running backs. And so I'm absolutely – I love that idea because the crazy thing is in that draft, Saquon fell to the 6th pick in that mock draft. But that wasn't like crazy. I'm telling you, the way that order breakdown, it was really weird because, you got Christian McCaffrey there. You got Zeke. You have multiple running backs and wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins that could make a question. Michael Thomas, really high guys there. And so it's very weird how that's shaping out. So what do you think about that, Reed?
I think personally, I think Christian McCaffrey should be the number 1 pick just in terms of what he can do. I mean, I think obviously Saquon's more talented than him, but I think based off of what happened last year and just his all-around game, how it fits into the offense that he's going to be in.
Hold on. Before you guys both start, though, let me start off with this different question. If you had to ask between the two, who was going to do better, Reed? We'll start this off with you. Because they both have 2 new head coaches, they have to start off from scratch, essentially. Who do you think is who's primed for a better year, given the circumstances? So, Reed, I'll let you go first.
Well, that's true. That does kind of change things because Saquon – I think Saquon's more talented. Like I've said, Kyle, me and you talked about it when we first started this podcast. Saquon Barkley is the most talented running back I think I've ever seen enter the NFL, just in terms of sheer ability. And they improved their O-line. Out in New York, they improved their O-line big time. But Christian McCaffrey, of course, he gets better receiving numbers. Not saying that Saquon can't catch the ball, but he should have better receiving numbers. He should have a quarterback that likes to check it down to him. And I think that he can be used in creative ways. It's to me, it's just between those two. It's 1A, 1B. It's just whoever you have a gut feeling with. It's tough. I personally would probably go McCaffrey, but I do think that Saquon is a better player, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. I understand. So let me go with you, Hall. Do you agree with Reed that that's the way it's going to shape out?
Yeah, like you said, it's 1A, 1B. Me personally, just because I've seen what Matt Rule did in college. He's like kind of like one of those new and upcoming offensive like geniuses, if you want to call him that. And he's really creative what he does in the offense. So I think he's going to be able to move C-Mac around all over the field. He's going to use him more in the passing game, which in PPR obviously gets you more points. And just from what you've seen out of Jason Garrett in Dallas, he's going to run the ball a lot. They tried to bulk up the offensive line in New York for Saquon and Daniel Jones. And with Daniel Jones having those fumble issues last year, I think they're going to try to put it more in Saquon's hands in the run game, a little bit less in the pass game than C-Mac. So I'll definitely go with C-Mac as far as just receiving, passing. I think he'll have more touchdowns than Saquon this year also.
Look, man, I don't know why you switched up because you had me convinced that actually it should be Saquon. You had me going because you're right. Jason Garrett being the OC, what was the biggest issue was that they didn't want to go pass heavy in Dallas. Everyone was saying, why are they running the ball so much? We have a market. Why aren't we throwing the ball more? They wanted the young, up-and-coming kind of offense. I think you're absolutely right with that Hall. Jason Garrett's going to come in there with the old school kind of mindset and just run, give the ball to Saquon, let him take the ball to Daniel Jones' hands. Now, Maurice, do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that, and I'll tell you why. Because you got an offense coordinator in Jason Garrett that has familiarity with the division. Yes. So he knows the Redskins personnel. He knows the Eagles personnel. He knows the Cowboys personnel. So he's going to be able to draw up game plans around Saquon to specifically attack the weaknesses of those teams. Now with the Redskins and the Giants, it's going to be the Redskins and the Eagles. No, I'm all over the place. I'm overthinking it. I mean, because I'm just thinking about Jason Garrett being able to position Saquon to take advantage of the weaknesses of the NFC East. So I think, if anything, having an offensive coordinator that understands the NFC East I think it's an advantage for Saquon and an advantage for the Giants. So that's why I would kind of give the edge to Saquon over Christian McCaffrey, even though I think McCaffrey is going to be used in a more versatile fashion than a Saquon.
Yeah, because like you make an excellent point, because when you think about Matt Rule, I mean, look, Hall, you probably watch more college football than all three of us combined. But you know Matt Rule, you know that kind of offense he likes to run, and it's more of like the gimmicky kind of offense. It's not more of like the centralized from the running back position. So do you still think it's Christian McCaffrey given that?
Yeah, I mean, what's the league nowadays? It's a passing league. And Matt Rule comes from that kind of spread the offense out, put different mismatches on different type of guys, kind of like Scott Turner, use a lot of pre-snap motion to see what mismatches you can get. And, I mean, C-Mac on a linebacker, that's a mismatch. C-Mac on the safety, that's a mismatch. So, I mean, I just think he's going to use them in a lot of versatile ways. And, like I said, Saquon's going to get his numbers for sure. It's just that C-Mac's passing numbers and receiving numbers will be better. And I just think that he'll score more touchdowns, which is
yeah, and also he's with Teddy Bridgewater now.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't throw the ball downfield too much. I mean, at least that's what he did when he was with Minnesota. Last year, I know it was a little bit different in the Saints system, but McCaffrey's going to get a lot of touches. Bridgewater's going to love throwing it to him with that noodle arm.
Yeah, look, I think the Carolina Panthers did the right thing by going to get Teddy Bridgewater. Now, that being said, it got rumored this week, so Maurice, I'll go to you first. It got rumored this week that Colin Kaepernick was going to be making a comeback to the NFL. But I'm sitting here saying, wait, hold up. Cam Newton's still available.
Right.
What is going on? Do you think that Kaepernick should get a job over Cam Newton?
No.
Simple put. What about you, Hall?
Next question.
I mean, do I even got to repeat the answer? Look, should Cap be in the league? Obviously, he's more talented than a lot of these backup quarterbacks out there.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's just like I was watching Speak for Yourself with Marcellus Wiley earlier. Of all people, LeVar Arrington made the best point of all. Cap's going to come in there and say that it doesn't work out. All of a sudden, it's following. Oh, it's a conspiracy against Colin Kaepernick. Say Colin Kaepernick comes in and he doesn't get any playing time, even though he's better than the starting quarterback or maybe something like that. Oh, this is a conspiracy against Colin Kaepernick. And the next thing you know, you got that team getting boycotted by by fans and by marketing people and by endorsement people and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, yeah, he definitely should be in the league as a quarterback, a second-string quarterback, backup. But it's kind of like Tebow effect. He's going to be more popular than the starting quarterback, and you can't really have that distraction.
Well, I think that I think a team that picks up Kaepernick needs to be a team that has like a quarterback that is clearly the quarterback, right?
Now, everyone was saying Seattle Seahawks would be the perfect fit.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the same thing. I think Seattle's the perfect team because, Russell Wilson is clearly the guy. Yeah. So you should just be happy to be on that team because you're going to be, in the playoff hunt. It gives Seattle tremendous security, and hopefully nothing happens to Russell. But, I think the thing with Kaepernick, I just think if he just gets back in the league, that's a positive move. And then he can play his way into a position if he can. But he hasn't played in several years. But I'd like to see him in the league. But, I think like a team like Seattle would be a great place for him to land.
Also, they're going to look at it as, well, did you sign him based off his football merit or you just sign him just because the NFL said, well, you got to get him back in the league, Right. So it's got look, he should be, but
But that's not the first time that has happened. It's not. You're right. Not the circumstances around Kaepernick, but there's been a lot of players that have been signed.
Yeah, you're right.
Like Peyton Manning should have retired.
Bruce Smith, Deion Sanders.
Yeah, Jeff George. Come on, But I was saying like Peyton Manning should have retired that last season he played for the Broncos. He did absolutely nothing that year. He was on dead man's door. That season, but they won a Super Bowl. He got a second ring. So
and that's why I think honestly, when Cam Newton is ready to return, I think that he should legitimately be considering Tennessee. I think that that's the best possibility for him to be able to succeed. He needs a big offensive line that's going to be able to have a positive running game for him at all times, keep him healthy, especially with that shoulder. Because look, he has taken a lot of hits over the years. But that being said, he's still head and above shoulders above Kaepernick. And I'm sitting here scratching my head. why is Cam Newton not in the NFL right now?
I got a team better than that than Cam Newton.
What are you thinking?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that is.
You never know with Big Ben.
And
look what happened to them last year without a backup quarterback.
I mean, Big Ben is long in the tooth. You know, he's just one injury away from being like, I'm done. And remember when Ben got hurt? I think this is like when he got hurt a couple of years ago, and Michael Vick came in. Yeah. And Michael Vick gave them some quality games and stuff like that. So I think Cam. I mean, not only could Cam do that, I mean, Cam would automatically could supplant Ben without a problem. So.
Yeah, the crazy thing was, like, I think Vic didn't even play well. They just, were winning.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes that's all that matters. Hey, are you winning the game?
Hey, that's true because, look, we saw last year with Mason Rudolph. We saw, guys that can come in there just because they're starting doesn't mean they're any good. Yeah. So with guys like Vic kind of show you that if you have that veteran that can step in, and honestly, like Todd Collins of the Redskins in the mid-2000s can carry you to the playoffs and take you far. So, I think you're absolutely right about that, Maurice. That'd be another great selection. So, do you guys have anything else you'd like to talk about for tonight?
No?
That's great. I love the enthusiasm, guys.
No, I'm just ready for football to be back. I mean, it's June. I mean, it's June, so that means that training camp starts next month. And I think what was so great, and we talked about it earlier in the show, of seeing all these facilities open up. And just seeing all the safety precautions that they're putting in place to keep the players and the coaches and the training staff and, the front office staff safe from COVID-19. So I think that, I think the NFL has a plan to protect itself, to protect its players. And I think that if we can have football this season, even if fans aren't in the stands in the beginning of the season, I think the country will be in a much better place mentally just to see some football. Because I don't even know if we're going to have college football this season. That's something we need to talk about. Because, I mean, the NFL has been really proactive as far as what they're doing to ensure that they have a season.
Oh, yeah, they want that money, baby.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But here's the thing. But I haven't seen, the college football program. And see, the thing with college football, you have these different conferences. Some conferences, like a Power 5 conference, they probably can be prepared and play college football. Right. But if you're like a mid-major conference or Division II conference, are you going to have the financial infrastructure to retrofit your facilities to protect your players, coaches, and training staff from COVID-19? I don't know. So that's something. And the other thing is, if you have a less than perfect college football season because of COVID-19, how does that impact the 2021 NFL draft? So
that's what I've been saying for the last month or so. If with this, what's going to happen with the draft? It's going to be interesting to see.
Right. So it's a lot of things to take into consideration with college football. So because I think.
Sorry, I just don't think it's that crazy because, look, we saw with, the Bosa brothers. We saw with Jadeveon Clowney. You could take the year off and nobody really cares, As long as you're staying healthy, you're continuing to work. Now it's going to be a lot different if everybody is at home and not playing football. I get it.
Those are extreme examples of some pretty talented players.
At the end of the day, just like the NFL, they want that money.
Yeah.
College football, they don't want money. They need that money. All the athletics to survive.
The football program funds the whole athletic program. It's definitely not the tennis team,
So now, I don't think it's going to start.
No disrespect to tennis, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't think it'll start on time as far as August, but I think maybe mid to late September they should get college football hopefully started back up.
Right. The Magic Gathering Club that Reed was a part of. They need those funds, baby. Come on, we need college football.
We do. I will destroy anybody in Magic the Gathering. Me and my Juggalo friends.
It wouldn't surprise you one bit. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much to Maurice again for joining us tonight, sir. I know this is kind of a lull time for everybody, but look, we try to get as much juice as we could out of this. I really appreciate you coming on again and representing the Redskins Tweet team. We know we love having you on, Maurice.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always an honor and pleasure to be in you guys' show. It's always a joy to be able to talk about something I'm really passionate about, which is Washington Redskins football. So I just appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and I hope that you're seeing the fruits of the partnership of us promoting the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the word out. So, that's what we want to do is help grow the show and do whatever we can to help you guys out to be successful.
Absolutely, and you guys have done that.
Love having you on.
tenfold.
Yeah. And looking forward to getting you guys on some Redskins Tweet Team podcast shows. So
yeah, Burrows messaged me yesterday trying to get me off for this weekend. So I told him I was going to let him know on what that was about. But look, I'm telling you guys, it's really well done. Burrows has it structured and has it well done and thorough.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, everyone, we will be back on Thursday. Expect another episode. We'll be able to dissect all of the interviews from the day that will be fresh off of Kerrigan and McLaurin. So we'll have some fresh sound bites for you guys. And then we'll see you then. So I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall, and my Twitter will be up and running again soon, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I am currently mad at my stepdad, Terry, for drinking all my Mountain Dews and making loud sex noises to my mom. So I hate you, Terry.
Oh, my goodness. Reed always has to do it somehow. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you go like us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes Podcast, and Instagram. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I'm Kyle, Redskins Football. Woo!
Share.
Hold on.